A while back, I ran this private Zoom call for our clients and our community. And in it, I break down how we made $80,000 in a single month using our close by chat methods, some automations, and a little bit of content. We didn't do any sales calls. Do note that this is a raw, unedited video recorded on Zoom, but trust me, this is worth the watch if you want to get more sales as an online coach without doing sales calls. Let's get into it. A couple years ago, I mostly just sold by chat. So we have sold hundreds of thousands of dollars through chat before this. Okay. So um, I had, uh, we were selling like, I think it was a $3,000 offer. And it was just easier. Like if I could just chat with somebody and give them a document, and then they would say, I'm in, and then we would go to work. And that was that. And so, but we kind of got away from that. And I'll tell you this, disclosure is in order to sell by chat. So if you're only doing chat, and you're not doing calls, there's a couple things that need to be in place. So if what makes selling in chat easier is if you have good content. And if you know, because the sales conversation is going to happen in multiple areas, it doesn't just happen in the DMs, it's happening all around. But anyways, we got away from that and we started to raise our prices. And there is I've had the belief that it's like, if it's more than 2K, I'll probably do a phone call, right? I'd rather do a phone call. And your closing rate is going to be higher if you do a phone call. And that is just true. Okay. So if you are if you don't have enough leads, let's say, or you don't have a bunch of calls, I would probably recommend just still doing it by phone. But even if that's you, today's going to be valuable because you can apply the same thing I'm going to teach you today to book more phone calls. Okay. Because whether you are having a chat conversation and booking a phone call, or having a chat conversation that then enrolls them into your program, guess what? It is still a sale. You have to sell somebody to book a call. You have to sell somebody into your program. And just so that we're all clear, sales sometimes is like, to me, sales is like a spiritual practice. Sales is a service. Sales is like a beautiful service to people. I understand that not everybody has that idea of what sales is. But just, I'm curious, like maybe perhaps in the chat, I would love to know, like, what is when you think of sales, what's the first word or image that comes to mind for you? Frustration. Yeah. What's the word? What's the sales? Connection, value, depends on the day. Yeah. Fair. Complicated. Yeah. Right. So like everybody has these relationships like with sales, but sales is mostly, it's like the intersection of communication and psychology. And ultimately it's a relational thing. And so the more you understand yourself and the more you understand other people, the easier sales is, the better, like the simpler it can be. And the more you can show up from just like a heart-centered, service-oriented space. And that's the big unlock, like for all sales. It's like when you're just literally showing up to serve, when you don't need the sale, you get more sales. It's a weird thing, but it's just, it's the way. Oh, I almost have a Bible verse coming into my head. That would be weird, but it's almost there. Something like those who have will be given more, and those who do not, like even what they have will be taken from them. That there's something in that about like the way that we show up in the world, right? And that's like when you're abundant, when you don't need it, more will be given to you, right? And when we're like in a scarcity mindset and we're like trying to get, it's like even what we have will be taken from us, and we won't, and it'll still be difficult. So your energetics, the way that you show up, that matters, more than the strategy or the things that I'm going to be sharing with you. So just, these are little things. If I can do this without messing up my screen. Yes. Okay. I want to just quickly pause because I want to remind you, if you don't have a workbook or you're not taking notes, like something my mentor always says, he's like, it's about what's caught, not about what's taught. So I've got some things I'm going to teach you, I'm going to share with you, but I don't know, like, I don't know. And like, there's something in here for you. I'm going to ask you later, like, what'd you catch, what you learn, what was it for you? It'll be different for everybody. So just pay attention, take notes, what you catch, and I'm going to quiz you later. No, not really, but I'm going to ask you. Okay. All right. So all that being said, I'm going to tell you a little bit of story. So I used to be a finance guy, and numbers tell a story, right? I love numbers. I'm such a nerd. My mom put me in Kumon math when I was like 6, but whatever. I love math and I love numbers. And so I like looking at just numbers, and I'm going to show you a Stripe account from, I think it was like yesterday, took a snapshot, but just so you can see what it is, not for anything other than to tell a story. Okay. So last 12 months, you can see we did over, 537. But the number tells an interesting story. Okay. We've also had 2 months, like our last 2 months, or we did 86K, 40, and then another 80. So we're like on trend we're going towards 7 figures, and we will do that very shortly. But that's not the interesting thing. The interesting thing is right here. So for 3 years, we had been working on Facebook, and we like primarily got most of our revenue from Facebook. And all of our clients came from Facebook. And then we got restricted. We got banned. And that ever happened to anybody? Anybody ever had their accounts restricted, banned, or temporary paused, anything like that? Yeah, Facebook, super interesting. But it was, and all of a sudden, like I didn't know if I was going to get the account back. It was my personal profile. I couldn't message, I couldn't comment, I couldn't post, I couldn't do anything. So I was like, oh crap. And we had to pivot quickly. And so it's a good question. And I don't know. Like, it's not like Facebook tells you, like, they'll say, like, you violated some community guidelines. Like, well, where? Or what did I do? No, you can't get an answer like that. I don't really post that much controversial stuff. I mean, I suppose it's possible. But it's like, that was a big wake-up call for me, realizing that, wow, my entire business can be flipped off with the flick of a switch. And luckily, we had an email list, and we had, and I've been an entrepreneur for long enough to, I just eat problems for breakfast. That's normal. Okay, pivot. What's next? And we make the next pivot. And so we moved over to Instagram. And I was like, oh, well, that's weird. You banned me on, it's the same company. I can't use Facebook, but I can use Instagram. Okay, cool. And so trying to figure out the Instagram platform. And I'm like, I don't have time to build a following, or like do the whole organic thing. And anyways, we started to make some pivots. And so this dip right here is the Facebook cut off the account. Then we go into Instagram and start, testing and doing the same things that we're doing. It doesn't matter the platform, like when the sales and a system and a process is the same, it's just talking to people. And then, so we start coming up, and then there's a couple big spikes. And so this big spike was when I found out how to put AI into my Instagram and have conversations for me. So I was like, oh my God, that was crazy. And I've never booked more appointments in my life. I've never had more sales. It was wild. And we kind of figured out how to really leverage AI. And I realized, wow, I hate this business. This sucks. Because I had over 100 sales calls, and my calendar was full. And I was like, oh, okay, never mind. Like, I don't want this, actually. It was overwhelming. I was burnt out. And so we turned everything off, and I was like, nope, I don't want to do it that way. It's not in alignment. I did this business for freedom. And so then we paused, we took a month off, and then we readjusted, we realigned, and then we did 80 the following month. But the kicker is I did 0 sales calls. did 0 sales calls. And I got my time back, white space on my calendar, and we will do that again. And like, because it's a system, it's not like some fluke, or like, you can see there's a pattern, there's a trend. I'm not like, I know exactly why the numbers are the way that they are. Does that make sense for people here? Yeah. Interesting, right? So we're in this really interesting time right now with AI, the world, and the opportunity is incredibly abundant. Like, man, there's so much opportunity right now. And mostly it's like, I alluded to earlier, as an entrepreneur, your main job is like eating problems for breakfast. And if we're honest, like, you look out in the world, there is no shortage of problems. There's an immense amount of problems. So there's an immense amount of opportunity to solve those problems and help people. And so, so maybe just a question before I kind of go into the next pieces, just out of curiosity, what if I was to ask the question, like, what do you perceive to be the block for you in growing your business, or like, it's an abundant world, there's tons of people that need your help. What is the block for you right now, preventing you from making the impact, earning the money, building the business that you want? What's the block? What's the roadblock for you? The bottleneck? Like, is it not enough clients, can't find them, can't get the message, don't have the offer, don't have a system, I got limiting belief? Like, what is the block for you? I'm the bottleneck. Yeah. People investing in themselves, clients, leads, not getting seen. Yeah. Messaging, knowing how to connect. The best part, I'll answer this is how you connect. Okay, you ready for this? This is wild, but you just go, hi. Hi. There are so many, I feel like people who come into my program are like expecting some radical thing, but it's like, no, it's like, how do you start conversations? You say hello, like a human would. You say hello. How you doing? Where you from? What's good? I noticed this about you. That's cool. Anyways, I'm being facetious. Let me continue. So, there's some challenges, but there's also, like, we're sitting in an amazing opportunity. So just really quickly, there's 5 things that we've done over the last few months that have allowed us to scale at a rate that is honestly just like new to me, where I'm like, whoa, this is crazy. This is awesome. It's working. It's fun. I'm able to not work as much and make more. And so, again, just sharing, hey, here's what's working for me. Maybe it will work for you. So the one shift was we moved from Facebook to Instagram. I just very simply, like, Facebook, some of the differences, like, Facebook has an affluent market, typically a little bit older of a market, right? Instagram, there's a typically younger market. Instagram, what works for organic is Reels. What works on Facebook is written. But one of the big differences for Facebook and Instagram is Facebook, you can still do organic really well. Instagram, I don't know, like, there's probably other experts on the Instagram plane, but growing organically on Instagram, I find very challenging. Is it just me, or does anybody else have that challenge? Facebook is still very easy to connect with people, grow a list. And so the way that I look at it is, Facebook, if you're doing just organic, Facebook is a great platform for that. It's the easy platform to start conversations. But if you want to grow, if you want to go faster, doing paid ads on Instagram is like, I feel like Instagram is kind of set up in that way. For example, just recently we were running ads. I stopped for a little bit. And all of my organic reach and organic engagement that I had fell off a cliff. I'm like, why'd that happen? Oh, right. Instagram's a marketing company. They want me to spend money on their platform. I stopped spending money on ads and they limit my reach. I want my reach back. I better start paying for that. Now I'm happy to pay as long as I know how. And, we figured that out. And it's like, it's really not a lot. Like, you don't have to pay a lot. You have to pay, but it's like, you can get engagement back for like a couple pennies if you know how to do it. And so it's a game, right? It's just a game, and there's some rules, and here's the platforms, and you learn the rules, you can play better. So we moved from Facebook to IG. Now we do both. Then we went from organic primarily focused to paid. That was another pivot that we made. And some differences here is, like, with organic, you kind of have to continually create, right? Like every day, like post, okay, what am I going to create today? What am I going to create today? With paid, it's like, if you just create one good thing and pay money to have that seen by a bunch of different people every day, it's like, you don't have to create so much. Organic is really good for finding your voice, finding your message, getting clarity around what you do. Paid works really well when you're clear. When you have a good message, you know who you're working with, and like when you're clear and the message to the market matches, that works really well. How we're looking at organic now is less about trying to go viral and do like a TikTok pointy thing where, like, yay, and more looking at it like, it's the content. Because think about this. I have 4 coaches right now. Before I hired each of them, I went to their Instagram page and their YouTube channels, and I binge watched everything that they had to make sure that they were the right coach for me. Does anybody else do that? Or is that just me? Yeah, it's like, you're going to watch the content. So if you know that, it's like, that's actually how I see the organic content there. Is that like that's where that's really going to come into play. It's not necessarily going to get tons of likes and engagements, but it's going to help you to sell if you have good organic content, right? Because that's where people are going to really binge watch it. And then running ads can be what you use to attract and grow your audience. That's if you don't have a way of growing your audience every single day, then even if you have the best offer, like, your audience is going to get tired of it. So, and that's one of the main things that I see, like, a lot of people, there's lots of strategies and, ideas out there, but if you don't have a way of growing your audience every single day, then it's like, doesn't matter how good your offer is or how clear your message is, nobody's going to hear you. So that's where ads come in, right? Organic, when people are watching your organic and consuming organic content, you have higher trust. And so your sales percentages will be higher because they already know, like, and trust you. Whereas if with ads, there's low trust. They haven't built that relationship with you. So you might need more sales calls to generate the same results. Making sense? Yeah. And then organic is typically slower, and paid ads can be very fast. So obviously, like, the best solution is when you're doing both, right? Like both are part of the equation. It's not one or the other, but it's like having both of these things working is what makes the client acquisition system work. So previously we were only doing organic, and now we're doing paid. And a big reason for all of these pivots for me was we had our second daughter, and time became a much more scarce resource. And so I'm no longer interested. I'm like, what's the shortcut here? What's the fast track? Like, how do I don't want to spend all of I got kids. I want to, hang out with them. I want to create an infinite amount of content. So we started to look at our business through the lens of time, of like, how do we optimize all of this for time? And then it's like, it's things like AI, it's things like ads, it's things like hiring a team, right? So that was one pivot. Another pivot we made is we started to move, like, once Facebook, you know, clipped my wings and told me, like, I got my account back. It took 3 weeks and I got it back. But by then I'd already lost my trust in Facebook. Like I'm like, well, I can't build my business on your platform if it can just disappear in a second. So we moved our Facebook group and community off of Facebook, and we moved over to Skool. And I love it over there. And there's a lot of cool things. I won't go into all of this, but I'll speak to like the two main points, and a way of thinking about it is, imagine trying to learn on Facebook. Good luck. It's like a distraction zone. You can't go 2 seconds without a message, a ding, an ad, like, so even if you have great content on Facebook, the chances of somebody spending a quality time, like really digging into your content that you're trying to teach or learn, to have them, you know, be ready to work with you, is like, it's maybe it happens, maybe it doesn't. But if you have something like on YouTube, or we just, like, Skool is our version of YouTube. And what makes YouTube work, or like, or Skool, is it's a platform where people can consume your long form content and binge watch your content and just like spend more time with you. The reason I'm sharing this right now is because that time that they spend with you before you're in a chat or before you're in an enrollment conversation is what makes the selling by chat possible, because they already have a relationship with you, because they've already spent 30 minutes with you watching this or that. You've provided value through the content. But that was like, this was a big shift for us. And honestly, like, I just like not having to be on Facebook. It's great. I like having my own space. And Skool, the way I look at Skool is kind of like, if Instagram and Facebook are the sidewalks, then Skool is like my store. And so people are walking on the sidewalks and I'm just saying, like, hey, you want to come in my store? And then they come in. I'm like, we've got a bunch of stuff here. How can I help you? Would you like this resource? Perhaps this course, maybe this over here. Well, how can I help? But now you're in my world. And it's like, so in the social media world, that's like everybody, you know, the Instagram, Facebook, blah, so much stuff going on. It's like, I'm just chilling in my own store. I got a regulated nervous system. I'm chill. Come on in, right? Hey, you want this? Can I help you with that? And it's like, it's just, it feels good. Okay. So there's like, that was a cool thing. Next pivot that we made, which was a little bit more recently, is we went from the Zoom to Looms, which is, you know, selling by Zoom, to being able to have conversations with Loom. And if needed, not always needed, but sometimes, you know, you can just shoot a 2-minute Loom video to add a personal touch to a conversation. And that might be enough to enroll a client. Yeah, I'll share this. So this is the distinction for selling by chat and selling by on the phone. Okay, so like what to be aware of. When you are selling on Zoom or by phone, you will have a higher close percentage. Okay, so you just will. It's easier to sell when you're talking with somebody over the phone or like live connection, because there's more connection rapport. So just, you know that. However, Zoom, it's like you're always filling up your calendar with sales calls. And like, I love the fact that I've enrolled my last 3 clients. Like, I have what used to be all sales calls is now white space. And I can enroll clients while working out downstairs, cooking dinner with my family. I can just send a voice note and enroll, and then say, hey, look at this and let me know if you're in. Like a week ago, it was like 11 o'clock at night, but I was talking with somebody, with my sister-in-law, and we're up, and then she goes away for a second. There's a message. I was like, oh, cool. Somebody's here. Like, yeah. You want me to drop you the link? I drop him the link. It's like, I'm in. And it's like, in the time that she went to the bathroom and came back, somebody, like, there's already a new client. So, at 11 o'clock at night. And it took me like 3 minutes. Right. So it's like, that's really cool to me. How do you handle, so with a sales call or doing a Zoom call, you're, by the way, you're always going to have objections. Okay. Like, it's very rare if you have a sales conversation and people have no questions. They're just like, here, take my money. I'm always suspicious if that happens. I'm like, are you sure? I'm like, sure you don't have objections? So there's always going to be objections. And then the way that you handle them is different. You can handle them like with coaching. It's like people just need to get the clarity before that's usually what an objection is. It's just like a lack of clarity. They're either not clear, they're not committed, or they're, clear, committed, or lack confidence. It's typically one of those three things. So then how do you handle those objections? And it's like, you do it with coaching if you're live. You do it with content if you're doing it by chat. So there's only about 6 possible objections that you can really get if you think about it. What are some of the objections that you get? Let's see if there's like, maybe somebody's got like a really random one. But what's the main one that you guys hear? It's like, oh, I really love your program, but cost, can't afford it, money, time, not the right time, money, time, money, time, money. Maybe there's only 2. Maybe there's only 2. By the way, it's never about money or time, right? You guys know that? Everybody says money and time, but it's never about money and time. But you got to get to the truth of why the objection is there. And it's usually they lack clarity, they lack confidence. They either believe that you can't help them do it, or they don't believe in themselves. They lack commitment, which is where time or money comes in. It's like, that's really what that is saying. It's like, well, I'm not that committed to it. So do you want to be committed to it? Because if you did, so then it's a conversation about commitment, not about money. But anyways, I'm not going to do a objection handling class here. But I just want to say, it's like, if you know what the objections are, then you can create content to handle those objections. And when they come up, you can just say, hey, did you see this piece of content that I did? And direct them to the piece of content and handle the objection. Okay. You know what's super frustrating? When people book enrollment calls and then they don't show up. That ever happened to anybody? I can't. I'm like, what's with that? Do people not know how important integrity is? I'm like you say you're going to do something, you don't do. Like, I'm not even mad for me. I'm like, I'm worried about that person. Like, you got to go walk around in the world with a lack of integrity. I know I'm not the only person that you're showing up that way for. I mean, maybe, but no shows. If you're doing it by chat, no worries. You're not booking it in the calendar. I'll get back to you tomorrow. I'll send you a voice note. It takes me 2 seconds. So how do you do it? Well, you typically have a call funnel, right? You book a call. There's like a homework video. There's like a process. Get the email reminders. What we did is we just made a chatbot funnel. So we just programmed a chatbot, and it can start the conversations. I won't get into like all the dynamics of how the chatbot, but very simply, it's like the chatbot has a qualifying conversation with people who are interested in working with us. And then at the end of the day, or at some point during the day, I go back and look at the conversations our chatbot has had, and the people who are qualified, I'll send a voice note to. And I add a personal touch to an AI machine. That combo works really, really good. Okay. It also saves me, I don't have to sit there and type all the questions. I just read the conversation it had. And it blows my mind, honestly. I'm like, what? I'm like, the first time I'm like showing my wife, I'm like, dude, I think I even called her dude. But I'm like, Kim, look at this. Like, this is the craziest thing I've ever seen. It's like, it's having a conversation better than me. Yes, worked on me. Yeah. Anybody else here? Like, who's here because of my chatbot? There's like, but there's a combo. And like, I will say that there is a like we all want total freedom and like this, but you have to be able to add the authenticity and intimacy into, especially like in a world that is becoming more automated, becoming more AI. It's like, it's going to be, how do you blend? How do you integrate with it? And so figuring that out. So we do, we have a chatbot funnel. Eventually, like if you're growing your business, you're going to want to hire people in these places. So if you have like a sales role, like a salesperson, that's a high-end position. That's like, it's not an easy fill. Whereas if you're selling by chat, that can be, a VA can do that. Like you don't need a highly, high skill employee. You can hire that, like it's relatively easy to scale. And then with Zoom, it's like, if you think about it, it's like people can book calls and they book calls for 2 weeks out. And it's like, by then they've forgotten about who you are and they show up on the call like, oh yeah, this thing. But so it's like, there's like a process, right? So it's kind of slow to make offers. Whereas like with the sell by chat, I can make offers every single day. I can have like 8 or 10 calls a day. And then the ones that are good, I'm like, hey, you want to see the offer? And I just drop a chat. I drop the link with our offer. And so it's like just the sheer volume of offers that I'm getting to show people is higher, which is why I don't care about the percentage being lower. Does that make sense? Like I can deliver more offers, so my close rate is lower, but doesn't matter because I can show it to more people. So it balances out. I'm going to break apart the actual system here. And yeah, I got 15, 20 minutes left here. So perfect timing. Before I do, I would love to know, like, what are you catching? I told you I would quiz you. What are you picking up? What are you liking, learning? What's an insight? What are you catching? What did you need to hear so far? What are you learning? Let me know. Yes, create the content to handle the objections. Yep. Again, another big time-saving tool is like, oh, yeah, here's this. Paid ads to grow the audience. Yep. Yeah, we have our own high level. We have a white label solution with our own snapshots, but high level is the base. Yep. Feels very common sense, but challenging in the moment. Yep. Yeah, what's that? It's like simple, but not easy. It's like it is simple. Facebook is not the all end all to advertising. Yeah. Create the content to point them to it when they give you the excuse of why they can't. Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. Okay. So picking up some stuff. All right. Let me flip this. We'll wrap up this training. And if you have any, might have some time for some questions, but again, like, there's like a little bit of a system here, but it's really not that complicated. I'm really not that smart. I'm I used to hear people say this all the time. And then I'm like, I'm in a situation where I get to say, it's like, if I can figure it out, you can figure it out. I'm like, I used to hear that and I'm like, yeah, sure. But I'm like, no, seriously, if it's me saying it now, it's like, for sure, anybody can figure this out. Straight C student over here. Okay. This is also like, this is my own drawings, by the way. So you can see this is like grade 3 level drawing too. Art is not my strong suit either. But my point is like, this is as complicated as obviously there's like a little bit underneath each of these steps, but this is it. This is as complicated as this process needs to be. There's an ad. There's some content. There's a chat conversation, and then there's an offer. That's it. That's the whole big old complicated funnel and craziness that it needs to be. Now, So that's the symptom. That's the system. Now, there's obviously like, some elements, and I'll kind of try to break these apart, and so you can kind of see the whole thing. And then if you're curious at all, or you want to see if this would be a fit for your business, you can DM my bot, the Dan Harrison. I think you can DM it Scale, and they'll probably have a conversation with you. Try Scale, or just say hi. Like, I see all the messages anyway. But these are the pieces. Okay. So number one, when you're building these kinds of businesses, the difference between you having a business and you having a hobby is you understanding the numbers. On a scale of 1 to 10, how good are you with your numbers? And when I say just generally speaking, like knowing your numbers. Do you know how much it costs to get an appointment booked? Do you know how much your cost to acquire a client is? Do you know what the cost for a lead is? Do you know what your profit is? Do you know what your expenses are? Do you know your numbers? On Shark's Tank, or, any of those companies or the shows, like the first thing that they always ask the entrepreneurs is like, okay, great. What's your numbers, right? Like, I'm trying to figure out the value of your business. So what's the numbers? Numbers are super key. And so with this, it's a system, and you got to know your numbers. Now this is like really, really simple and broken down, but just think about it this way. Let's say that it costs you $10 to get somebody to message you. It's like pretty middle of the road. Savio was getting some messages for like $3 or something like that. And then there's a different conversation about quality and, but it's like, let's just say that it's like $10 to get somebody to message you. On average, it's somewhere between 5 and 20. Depends on your industry, depends on who you're targeting, but let's say 10. Okay. Then let's say that you or your AI bot is not that great at booking calls, or the leads aren't that great, but like 1 in 10 of those people book a call or are interested in an offer. Okay. That would mean that it would cost you $100. If you booked 1 out of 10 calls, that would cost you $100 to get a call booked. Or the way that we frame it now when we're not booking calls, it's like to show an offer. For us to show an offer, it's $100. Well, that's pretty good. And then let's say that our sales, we're not very good at sales, or our offer isn't even that good, and only 1 out of 10 people want the thing that we're selling. That would mean it would cost $1,000 to get a new client, right? $100 to show an offer, and then 10 of those offers, you get 1 client. Yeah, you guys with me? Throwing some numbers at you. I know it's Friday, but I warned you I was a number nerd. So we making sense, right? $1,000 to acquire a client. Then depending on I saw what you guys had priced your programs, right? There were some 8Ks, there was some 10, let's call it 5. If you have a $5,000 offer, that means you're going to spend $1,000 to make 5. It would be a 5x return on ad spend. You spend $1,000 on ads and you make 5. Who would take that deal? That's like, for me, I start thinking like, well, how much money can I give this platform? Take my money, like 1, 2, 5, 10. Here, just take it, right? So, but those are some basic numbers. I'm just gonna give you a glimpse, like, because I told you I'm a numbers nerd. We track like crazy. Okay. So like, you don't have to track it to this extent, but we track a bunch of numbers. You only really have to track 4 or 5. How many connections do you have? How many chats are you starting? How many calls are you booking or offers are you making? And how many people are converting? But you got to know your numbers. Cool. The next thing is having a VA on your team. Oh man, game changer. Because I don't like spreadsheets any more than I like numbers. I don't like spreadsheets. But having a VA to input the numbers so that all I get to do as the boss is just look at the numbers and see the output. That's like every day I get a snapshot from my VA. It says, here's the numbers. Okay, great. Thank you. I'm not fishing around for all the numbers or trying to do this myself. So you have to know it initially, and then you give that to a VA because you don't want to be spending your time in spreadsheets as an expert, as a health professional or a coach. Yeah, making sense? Yeah, still with me? Talking numbers, but okay. So that's the kind of the big picture overview. If you do nothing else, just remember this, like track your numbers. And then how it actually works. So the 4 pieces are, there's the ad, there's the content, there's the chat, and then there's the closing. Okay. And I got 8 minutes. So I'll pull out the most important piece, which is the chat, and I'll unpack that. But from the ad perspective, okay, very simple. The type of campaign that you would create is a messenger campaign. Okay, so if you've spent any time in Ads Manager, there's messenger campaign is the type, which encourages people to send you a message. At the ad set level, there's this little button that says messaging apps. That's what you're telling Facebook to do. And then the post that we see working really well, like what is an ad? It's literally just a post that you make that you put some money behind it to be seen by the perfect people. Okay, this is a post that I made last week. I turned it into an ad by saying, now share this to the people that I think are my ideal clients. That's all I did. Okay. Next is the content. I'm going to just speak high level about one thing about content that I think will be helpful for you that you could take away around creating content. So copy is the skill, the most important skill. Right now, it's like, how do you capture people's attention in a 3-second world? We've got attention spans the size of a gnat. I appreciate y'all being with me for an hour. That's like, seriously, your time, I appreciate it. I know the value of it. I see you're still here, so great. Acknowledge you for your extended attention span. But mostly people like have very short attention spans. And so how do you, the hook, like the first 3 words or like the idea of your content is the most important. Because if you can't capture an attention, it's like they're not going to listen to the rest. Okay, so just really quickly, ways that you can create irresistible offers or hooks. It's like if it's focused, results oriented, tangible, polarizing, unique, and time bound. These are elements that make a hook work. Okay, just very quickly. Not the main thing I want to talk about. With content, I want to talk about this real quick. There's 3 types of content that you can typically, that people typically do. I'm curious, which one are you? Okay, so I'm going to share this, then let me know in the comments. Which one do you lean more towards? Are you more the expert, the guide, or the friend? Okay, so the expert is the one who teaches, who's sharing, this is what I know, and they're sharing information. The friend is sharing like things that where they connect with people, like here's my dog and my cats and my friends and my life, and that content has you connect, people like you, and you build rapport. And then there's the guide, which is leading by example, builds trust, and creates mostly content that shifts beliefs. Now you'll probably have a proclivity to one or the other, but the real magic is when you know how to integrate and use all 3. Because when you are doing all 3, what happens is people know, like, and trust you. So if you're leaning more towards one, it's like, if you're an expert, you probably have high leads and low sales because you don't have lots of connection and rapport. If you have the friend side, you've got lots of high engagement, but low leads, because people aren't qualified and they're not interested in the thing that you're selling. Does that make sense? So from a content creation perspective, understanding the character that you're going to embody when you create is a little trick or a little hack for creating interesting content. And the last thing I'll share with you here. So there's 2, the close. when you're closing, if you're selling over the phone, what we do is we have a 1-page document that is like light in the details because you are communicating with them about it. So it's just high level. All right. When you are closing by chat, you'll create more like a document that kind of, it has to be a little bit more fleshed out. But the 4 main ideas that you have to be able to answer, these could be the headers on the document, is just like, what's the dream outcome? How do I know that this is going to work for me? How long is it going to take? And what's required of me? If you can answer those 4 questions in a PDF document with the price and logistics and the basics, that's what's needed to be fleshed out in a PDF doc or a Google Doc. Okay. But the last thing I'll just share with you real quick is the chat. And so regardless if you are chatting, and what's really cool about this, so like I said, we had sold hundreds of thousands of dollars before we ever did AI or anything like that. But because of that, and we had developed our own frameworks and our own process. And then what's been so cool is we now teach our AI bots the same frameworks. And now it sells better than we do. Like, because you can literally teach it. And in an instant, it's like, oh, you mean say it like this? You're like, yeah. Oh, cool. And it's like instantly better than me. But the framework and the process is something that we had been honing for years beforehand. And it works whether you're selling a call or it works whether you're selling an offer. Okay. And the process is something, it's a framework. See this? Okay. eCafe. But this is the chat flow that will help you to book more appointments and enroll people in the right way, where they're set up to at least receive the offer. They're open to receiving it. Okay. So I'll break this down really quickly. The first thing is E, so engaging. Engaging is actually happening outside of the chat. So engagement happens on people's profiles, in the comments, liking other posts or in stories. Can happen in chat as well, but it's like you're engaging with other people and you're being seen, you're being known in the likes and the comments. And then there comes a moment, somebody said this earlier, like the hardest part is knowing how to connect. And I was like, you just say hi. That is the, so then you go into the connect phase. And that literally looks like, hi, how are you doing? And then you have an opener. And you test a few of these out, but here's you want a good response with your opener, make it personal. Like, go and look at the person that you're talking to and make a personal comment. Like, hey, I noticed this about you. Thanks for following. That will always work if you're just doing it manually. If you have a chat bot or you're like starting a conversation, the way that you open and you build momentum in this phase is something called this or that questions. Okay. You don't want to have people think too hard, especially like in the beginning, because they don't know if they're invested in having the conversation yet. So here's a very easy one. Okay, here's an easy opener for anybody here who's on Instagram. Somebody follows you. You send the new follower and you say, hey, thanks for the follow. Did you follow just for the awesome content, or were you interested in whatever you do? Hey, did you follow for the awesome videos, or were you interested in growing your business? Hey, were you following for the awesome content, or was there something specific around your health that I could help you with? This or that. Okay. And then they might say like, I'm following because I have a health concern. Like, oh, is it something that you've had for a long time, or is it relatively new? This or that. It's like it's easy for people to respond. And then what happens is if you ask a few this or that questions, then you have momentum. And then you can get into the meat and potatoes about what you want to talk about. But if you come up with open-ended questions like, what are your goals? Like, well, I don't know. And who the hell are you? Like, people that won't answer, right? So it's like, You have to make that simple and short and easy. And ultimately, you want to get to a spot where you can assess. And so the easiest way to pivot a conversation, this, by the way, see where all these circles overlap? That's the hardest part about all of this. And this is the part that most people suck at because it's an actual skill. And the skill is transitioning from one phase to the next, right? If you've ever been like, oh, I can start conversations fine, but I can't, like, how do I pivot to talk about my business? Anybody ever struggled with that? Like, that's a skill. And so, and really the skill, it's just like social fluency, or just like, you know, being able to, like, a very easy way to pivot into assess is like, oh, okay, cool. Do you mind if I ask you 2 or 3 questions to see if I can help? You ask consent, they say yes. You're like, okay, great. Now you can ask a couple questions, and now you can assess and kind of see where they're at. And then once you can ask some questions, it doesn't take long. If you're an expert at what you do, then you can pretty quickly identify what is their main issue. Is it a mindset block? Is it a health maybe a medication, maybe a habit, like whatever your thing is. Like, you could probably see it pretty quick. And then you're just going to frame what you see, right? And so then you're framing the opportunity. Say like, hey, I think I might see something. Do you mind if I weigh in on this? Again, you ask permission, like you get consent. Like, people might not want to hear what you have to say. You're like, I think I see something. Do you mind if I share? They're like, sure. They're like, well, it sounds like, and then you recreate and you say, here's what I heard. Sounds like the challenge or the problem might be this. Is that accurate? They say yes. They're like, cool. I have a framework, or I have a process, or I have an offer, or I have something that can help you with that. Would you like to see the details? Would you like to book a call? Would you like to fill in? Then you're inviting, right? But you're inviting from a frame of, I've identified your problem. I can help. Here's the next step. And the craziest part is AI can actually do this. You can train a bot to understand, or like to follow a flow like this, to give it what you have in your head and to be able to identify and help people. Now, it's not perfect, but again, that's where it's like 80-20. That's where the human part comes in. Maybe it messes up at this stage. That happens lots of times. But then I'll come in with a voice message if they're qualified, and I'll say like, hey, I just was checking out your the chat that you had. It sounds like this. Whatever, make the next step. But this is where I come in. This has all happened from an ad, and then a chat bot happened. And then I just come in at the end and be like, hey, can I help? Want to book a call? Want to take a look at the offer? And you go forth from there.